Hello once again, this is Uncle Jimmy with Jimmy's Train Station and Travel Adventures. And this week's blog, we are in Gettysburg again. But before we get to that, I would like to make a correction on last week's video of the Gettysburg diorama. One of my subscribers left a comment and or a suggestion to me that I had mentioned that the diorama museum was on Baltimore Street, and I was incorrect on that, and I appreciate the subscriber who contacted me and let me know that. Never feel bad about correcting me if I say something wrong or give a wrong address or a price or something. It happens, and I appreciate the feedback, and so it helps me correct myself when you correct me when I'm wrong, and I have no problem with that. But it is actually on Steinwehr Avenue, which exits off of Baltimore Avenue. Now Steinwehr Avenue goes out toward the Emmitsburg Pike where Pickett's charge took place, and that's where the diorama museum is today. The address is Steinwehr. Now today we are actually still on Baltimore Street at this museum today that I'm at. Now it's close to the National Cemetery and Cemetery Hill, and it's a unique kind of museum and different from what you would expect, and it's called Gettysburg Tales. Follow me and we'll go outside here and I'll tell you about it. Yeah, so it's called Civil War Tales at the Homestead Diorama Museum, which is located right here on Baltimore Street, and I'll tell you a little about it. Now, the building that it's in is a National Homestead of Gettysburg. This building was constructed in 1869 as a National Homestead of Gettysburg, a school for soldiers' orphans, established in 1866. Among the building to your right, among the first students were Alice, Frank, and Frederick Humison, the children of Sergeant Amos Humison of the 154th New York Volunteers, killed at Gettysburg on July 1st, 1863. The sergeant's identity was unknown, and when the body was discovered with a photograph of his children clutched in his hands, this photograph was widely distributed across the United States, and this is how they found out who the children was, by the father clutching onto the picture, and it became the most famous orphanage or orphan children picture in history. Now I've talked about this on one of my other blogs of famous things on the battlefield or interesting monuments on the battlefield. Now, his monument is actually over by the fire department where he died. So this was actually the orphanage during the battle, after the Battle of Gettysburg, for children lost from the Civil War. But let me tell you about this Civil War Tales at the Homestead Diorama Museum. It's actually a diorama of the different locations on the battlefield of Gettysburg that was fought July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 1863. Excuse the traffic, it's kind of loud here. I'll wait till this truck passes. But it's owned by two sisters who run it, and they've been making these figures, these little miniature soldier figures, since they were 12 years old. Now the unique thing about it is that they are cats. That's right, feline cats, and they're big fans of cats, and they love cats, so they have taken their time to make dioramas of the Battle of Gettysburg. But the catcher is all the little figures of cavalry, infantry, artillery, soldiers are all cats. So you got gray cats and blue cats which represent the Union and Confederacy. So it's a neat little museum, especially if you have kids. You should come and see it, because the kids would really appreciate it and enjoy it. And I'm planning on bringing my kids here myself eventually and letting them see it. So follow me on this blog and this adventure of Civil War Tales at the Homestead Diorama Museum in Gettysburg. All right, everybody, I'm here with one of the co-owners, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the creation of this in the museum.
Hi, well, I'm Rebecca Brown. My twin sister Ruth and I own the Civil War Tales Diorama Museum. We've been making our soldiers since we were 11. So it's been almost 27 years now, and if you look closely, all of the soldiers are cats. Because when we were kids, I read biographies on Generals Lee and Grant, and then I wanted to make them out of clay, and when I did that, they automatically came out as cats in uniform, because we always had cats as pets. And then it just took off from there. So this one here is the angle during Pickett's charge. We like to make our dioramas to scale and pick a specific point in time, so it kind of captures that moment in history.
So you've been doing this since you was 12, making the figures, you and your sister?
Yeah.
Now, how long did it take you to create the museum? Just that?
We would just make dioramas in our spare time. Yeah, so for example, Pickett's charge, we figure took us about 5 years on and off during college. Yeah, and
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, we keep tweaking it and changing stuff on it anyway.
So you still actually keep working on it?
Yeah.
How long, or what year did you open?
We opened fall of 2015.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, I appreciate it,
Sure.
and I'll take them around and show them everything.
All
Appreciate you. So this first diorama we're at is the angle, and then we're looking from the Confederate side with the clump of trees over here to the right, and the angle would be in this area here where the Confederates are lined up against the fence. Now this is one of the most famous charges in the Civil War. Especially in the Battle of Gettysburg. It was the decisive part of the battle that would decide the Union winning the Battle of Gettysburg on July 3rd, 1863. But if you look real close, they are little cats, all the figures, which is really neat. A little closer look here at the clump of trees and the Union soldiers on this side. And the co-owner did say that they're always tweaking it and repairing it and adding to it, and they have been doing it since they were 12 years old. Here's an example of the figures. Different sizes. There's President Abraham Lincoln with a cat, made out of a cat. And this is a part of the third day's actions back behind the area of Pickett's charge, and this is the house that was used as the Union headquarters, where Meade's headquarters on the night of the second day. They decided to stay and fight, so all the main generals of the Union Army was in this house deciding if they would continue fighting. And since they had the high ground and they were winning, they decided to keep fighting, and it would be a decisive victory for the Union Army. This is a diorama of the Desperation at Skull Camp Bridge, which happened in Shelbyville, Tennessee. This is really neat, of the ironclads. This would be the Monitor, U.S. Monitor, the Union warship, and this would be the Merrimack. This is a diorama of the Battle of the Monitor and the Merrimack, and both ships have been found. Actually, they have brought up the Monitor's turret and bodies from the Monitor and gave them proper burial. And there's a museum down in Virginia, I think it's in Hampton Row, that's really neat, where they store the turret of the Monitor. If you ever get a chance to go down and see it, me and my wife and kids have been there and seen it. I recognize this right away. This would be Andersonville Prison Camp in Georgia, is what's displayed here. Or is also known as Camp Sumter in Andersonville. Well overpopulated of what was supposed to be in there. A lot of disease spread, sickness. It held 23,307 men as it rises to the peak of the 33,000. 6 acres holding that many men. So a lot of people died from disease and stuff. Like, I know they would get their water from the stream that ran down at the bottom, which is also the same stream they would take baths in, and it caused hysteria and diarrhea. Just awful place to be. And a lot of them died from being there. Now this line here was the point of no return. You cross this line, they called it Dead Man's Line, I believe. If I'm incorrect, correct me. But if you cross this line, they would shoot you from the towers. And this is diorama of Fort Sumter, which was fired on by South Carolina. This started the Civil War. And was captured eventually by the Confederate Army. Now here it looks like we've got, I know this is Devil's Den right here. You can tell by all the big boulders here. It looks like they might be adding to this and working on this. This might be a new diorama, maybe. I'd say it is. Now over here would be, and this is under construction too, I believe to be Little Round Top, which they're still working on. You can see the Woodland Scenics glue and stuff over here. So they got the Confederate line here forming that they're working on. You can tell by the rocky slope and the top over there. This here might be Chamberlain's men, 20th Maine. The way it curves around here, that's what I'm thinking right here. The end of the line, the end of the official formation. Some more figures that they've done. Really neat little museum. Especially bring your kids, that they would really enjoy it. Now I'm 55 and I'm enjoying it. Of course, I've always been a Civil War buff anyway. Made some little samurai reenactors. That's pretty cool. How to play. This is the 9th Massachusetts Light Artillery at Gettysburg at all hazards. This was July 2nd, 1863, the second day of the fighting at Gettysburg, as Captain John Bigelow of the 9th Massachusetts Light Artillery, as the Union soldiers near the wheat field fell back before the Confederate Captain Bigelow's commander, Lieutenant Colonel Freeman McGilvery, ordered the battery to the rear. Now this here is a representation of Fort Wagner, Charleston Harbor, South Carolina, July 18th, 1863, in a famous charge of the Black Regiment, 54th Massachusetts, under Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, an abolitionist son who commanded the black troops. And they did make a movie about it called Glory, if you've ever seen Glory, with Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington and those guys, and Morgan Freeman. Very good movie. If you haven't seen, I suggest it. It was made in the 80s, and it's all about the 54th Massachusetts and the assault at Fort Wagner. This is a representation of a Confederate camp, just daily life. Got the men sitting around the campfires cooking, playing cards over here. Got the commanders coming in. Before we look at the last one, we'll go over here and look at this. So this is a representation of Matthew Brady and the photographers that came into Gettysburg after the battle to film the dead and photograph the dead. Keep in mind, this war was the first war where they actually filmed the wounded and the dead. That's a picture painting, really pretty painting, the Battle of Cedar Creek, which is in Virginia. And over here, last but least, we have the cavalry battle that was fought outside of Gettysburg. So we're looking behind the Union cavalry line and the Confederates over on the other side. And that is the battle that General Custer fought in. He was one of the commanders here for the Union cavalry who fought at Gettysburg before he would die at Little Big Horn against the Indians, the Native Americans. Nice painting of the battle on Fort Wagner, the 54th Massachusetts charging. Down here at the bottom, I missed Colonel Lewis B. Williams, shown here on his Marinelli Confederate Army, and Kemper's division at Pickett's charge. And they do have some little souvenirs here you can buy too as you come in if you would like. Some t-shirts, puzzles, a little bit of everything. So that's about it, folks. But it's a neat little museum to come to, especially if you have kids. Like I said, they'd love to see it. So this has been Uncle Jimmy with Jimmy's Train Station Travel Adventures. If you're watching this, please subscribe to my channel. Helps it grow. Give it a thumbs up. Feel free to leave comments, suggestions of things you'd like to see in the future. Until then, go out and have your own adventures and enjoy life. Once again, Uncle Jimmy with Jimmy's Train Station and Travel Adventures. Till next time, goodbye.